Hello and good evening. Well, the nation crossed another landmark in the battle against COVID-19 today, with the recovered cases crossing the 15 lakh mark. India also recorded the highest number of recoveries in a single day on Sunday. We'll get you all the details on that in Newsnight tonight. I'm Gautam Roy. We'll also be talking to our guests about how Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave a big boost to digital connectivity in the remote Andaman and Nicobar Islands today by inaugurating an undersea optical fiber cable link from Chennai to Port Blair. That's over 2,000 kilometers long. How the central government is focusing on taking development to remote areas of the country where it was never taken before, that's going to be our focus tonight as well. But first, our headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi gives a big boon to the people of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, launches undersea optical fiber cable connectivity service. The PM says the service will boost opportunities in the remote islands. Jobs and tourism will boom. The government is taking the archipelago forward based on port-led development hub model. The PM says the government aims to enhance ease of living in the country. Priority is to ensure fast-paced development of border areas, both land and sea. Says due to increasing thrust to trade and business in the Indo-Pacific region, the importance of Andaman and Nicobar Islands is even greater now. The central government is paying special attention to enhancing digital connectivity in strategically important border areas. Union Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad says the government is providing mobile connectivity in 354 villages located in strategic and border areas in Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh, Bihar and Uttarakhand. Tender of 337 crore rupees already issued. The PM holds a review meeting with chief ministers of 6 flood-affected states. The PM stresses upon greater use of innovative technologies for improving forecast and warning systems. Suggests following social distancing norms while carrying out rescue and relief measures. The flood situation remains grim in Bihar. Around 74 lakh people affected. Gandak, Buri Gandak, Bagmati and Kosi rivers are flowing above the danger mark in several places. Death toll in Kerala's Idukki landslide has reached 49. Heavy rains and landslides also reported in several spots in Uttarakhand. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh kicks off the Atmanirbhar Bharat Week for the Defence Ministry. All activities during the week will give a boost to domestic defence production. The minister says there is thrust now on making defence equipment at home. The move will save foreign exchange. 7,000 MSMEs will be encouraged and they'll get benefited. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar begins a week-long event on the eve of World Elephant Day. Releases booklet on best practices of human-elephant conflict management in India. Also launches a portal. Announces Project Fodder and Water in Forest to ensure adequate food and water for elephants. And major success for India in the war against COVID-19. The number of those recovered from the infection goes beyond 15 lakh. In another record, nearly 55,000 people recovered during the last 24 hours. The death rate has also come down to 2%. Daily tests have also crossed the 7 lakh mark. Well, the Modi government has always laid stress on ensuring development reaches those areas of the country which have been left behind in the onward march of the nation. As part of this effort, Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched the undersea optical fiber cable digital connectivity service in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands today, which will benefit the remote group of islands in multiple ways. While launching the service, the PM said his government's thrust has been on enhancing people's ease of living. Here's more.
एक बेहद समर्पित टीम के द्वारा टीम भावना से आज एक पुराना और महत्वपूर्ण सपना साकार हुआ है।
Modi makes it possible. These words have been proven beyond doubt time and again through the last 6 years as the nation has seen many projects and works which seemed almost impossible reaching the desired targets. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched and dedicated to the nation the submarine optical fiber cable connecting Andaman and Nicobar Islands to the mainland through video conferencing. He said the connectivity would now enable endless opportunities in the islands. He said the laying of the 2,300 kilometers submarine cable and completing it before the set target is very praiseworthy.
हमारा समर्पण रहा है कि देश के हर नागरिक, हर क्षेत्र की, दिल्ली से और दिल से दोनों दूरियों को पाटा जाए। हमारा समर्पण रहा है कि देश के हर जन, हर क्षेत्र तक आधुनिक सुविधाएं पहुंचे और हर नागरिक का जीवन आसान बने। हमारा समर्पण रहा है कि राष्ट्र की सुरक्षा से जुड़े बॉर्डर एरिया और समुद्री सीमा पर बसे क्षेत्रों का तेजी से विकास हो।
The service began on Monday on a major chunk of the islands from Chennai to Port Blair to Little Andaman and Port Blair to Swaraj Island. This optical fiber project has now linked Andaman and Nicobar Islands with the rest of the country, and the islands can now experience high net connectivity like the rest of India. This will help increase employment opportunities in the region and will enhance ease of living and facilitate new business avenues. This will also have a huge positive impact on the tourism sector in the region.
अब इंटरनेट अच्छा मिलेगा तो मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि लोग जो टूरिस्ट के नीचे वहां आते हैं वो वापस जाने की जल्दी नहीं करेंगे। वो लंबे समय के लिए वहां रुकना पसंद करेंगे और जब लोग ज्यादा रुकेंगे, अंडमान निकोबार के समंदर का, वहां के खान पान का आनंद लेंगे तो इसका बहुत बड़ा प्रभाव रोजगार भी पड़ेगा और रोजगार के भी नए अवसर बनेंगे।
PM also listed the various developmental projects being executed in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. He said that the Andaman and Nicobar will be developed as a hub of port-led development as it is at a competitive distance from many ports of the world. Prime Minister said a country which has better network of ports and their connectivity will be able to provide a boost to trade in the 21st century.
अब ग्रेट निकोबार में करीब 10,000 करोड़ रुपए की संभावित लागत से ट्रांसशिपमेंट पोर्ट के निर्माण का प्रस्ताव है। कोशिश ये है कि आने वाले 4-5 साल में इसके पहले फेज को पूरा कर लिया जाए। एक बार जब ये पोर्ट बनकर तैयार हो जाएगा तो यहां बड़े बड़े जहाज भी रुक पाएंगे। इससे समुद्री व्यापार में भारत की हिस्सेदारी बढ़ेगी, हमारे युवाओं को नए मौके मिलेंगे।
PM said that the Indian Ocean has been the center of India's trade and strategic prowess for thousands of years. In this context, he said that Andaman and Nicobar is an important center for India's economic strategic cooperation. He said all the islands of India would be playing an important role under India's new trade strategy for Indo-Pacific region.
अब जब भारत इंडो पैसिफिक में व्यापार, कारोबार और सहयोग की नई नीति और रीति पर चल रहा है, तब अंडमान निकोबार सहित हमारे तमाम द्वीपों का महत्व और अधिक बढ़ गया है। एक्ट ईस्ट पॉलिसी के तहत पूर्वी एशियाई देशों और समंदर से जुड़े दूसरे देशों के साथ भारत के मजबूत होते रिश्तों में अंडमान निकोबार की भूमिका बहुत अधिक है और ये निरंतर बढ़ने वाली है।
The submarine OFC cable will provide 400 Gbps connectivity between Chennai and Port Blair and 200 Gbps bandwidth between Port Blair and rest of the islands. The Prime Minister said providing better and cheap connectivity to the people of Andaman and Nicobar Islands is the responsibility of the country, and the submarine cable is one such effort to prove that Andaman and Nicobar Islands are not far away from Delhi and from the heart of the mainland. With Sudhakar Das, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Meanwhile, IT and Telecom Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad has said that the government has been taking measures on priority to provide connectivity in far-flung, difficult border areas of strategic importance so as to ensure better quality of life for the people there as well as to those who are working in those areas. Speaking to the media, the minister informed that a tender of 354 uncovered villages located in strategic and border areas in Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh, Bihar and Uttarakhand has already been issued and that the tender is worth 337 crore rupees.
जो हमारे सीमावर्ती गांव हैं उसके लिए डिजिटल कनेक्टिविटी अच्छी हो इसके लिए पूरी कोशिश कर रहा है। तो 354 अनकवर्ड विलेजेस हैं जम्मू कश्मीर में, लद्दाख में, हिमाचल प्रदेश में, राजस्थान में, बाड़मेर, जैसलमेर, बिहार में पूर्वी चंपारण नेपाल के नजदीक है, उत्तराखंड में चमोली, चंपावत, पिथौरागढ़। तो जो सामरिक महत्व के गांव हैं यहां पर मोबाइल कनेक्टिविटी को और मजबूत किया जाए अनकवर्ड विलेजेस में, ये हमारी एक बहुत ही प्राथमिकता की योजना चल रही है।
So let's just contextualize, what has been happening around the country as far as this developmental trust in remote and strategically important areas is concerned. Let's start with what happened today for the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. If you look at what the Prime Minister did, it's a digital bridge for Andaman and Nicobar Islands. It's a high-impact project. Is being expanded in 12 islands of the entire archipelago. That's what the PM talked about in his speech as well. Physical connectivity is being enhanced through road, air and water routes. None of the access routes are being left behind. Work is ongoing for construction of 2 bridges and broadening of the National Highway 4 as well, connecting Port Blair. Port Blair Airport's capacity is also being expanded so that it can handle a load of 1,200 people at the same time. Airports in other islands also being made operational. This is very important because what will happen next? Well, seaplane services are set to begin soon under the UDAN scheme. So they'll be pretty affordable as well because they'll come under the UDAN scheme. Further on, what is happening? Well, even the sea route where 4 sea vessels are to be floated to enhance water connectivity as well. This is happening in Kochi. The vessels are being developed. And further on, Andaman and Nicobar Islands are to be taken ahead on port-led development hub model. That in itself means quite a lot, and we'll talk about that with our guests as well. If you talk about what's happening in the northeast, well, 2014 to 2019, 2,732 kilometers of highways built in the 8 states of that region. If we look at what happened on the 25th of December in 2018, well, the PM inaugurated 4.94 kilometer long Asia's second longest road cum rail Bogibeel Bridge in Assam. This is across the mighty Brahmaputra. The target of laying 900 kilometer long rail network is there in the northeast, and that's been fixed by the Modi government. There is work on which is to build 3,800 kilometers of highways costing 60,000 crore rupees, and this work is ongoing. Air connectivity, well, if you talk about that, well, the works for that has also been accelerated in the entire region. One big step that the government took, well, bamboo was reclassified from tree to grass, which is immensely benefiting the common people of that region. Their reliance on bamboo is tremendous, and tree classification made things difficult, especially for transport. 1,656 kilometer long gas grid is being laid at a cost of 9,265 crores as well. This is also very important. Gas is very important for the region because that is to a large extent green when used there, and that will keep the ecological balance of the region intact. Greenfield Airport is being developed in Arunachal at the cost of 956 crore rupees as well. That is also very important. Arunachal is quite close to a very crucial border area. March 16, 2018, foundation stone laid for India's first national sports university in Manipur. Huge decision for the entire region. AIIMS is also being constructed in Guwahati, which will boost health services for the entire region as well, the 7 or 8 sisters as they're called. Business activities are being boosted in Northeast as well using waterways. So that's another mode that is being used to enhance the ease of living in that region. Now let's talk about J&K and Ladakh. Well, development works have been accelerated after abrogation of Article 370 and 35A. That is something that we have observed. 2015, the PM announced 80,000 crore rupees package for the region. Further on, 42,611 crore rupees was allocated for building roads, just the road network. That much money was allocated. 11,708 crore rupees allocated for power projects. That's another huge allocation there. If you look at what's happened further, 4,900 crore rupees also allocated for boosting health infrastructure and services. Focus has also been laid on skill development, agriculture, tourism, as well as urban development. That is something that has been given as well. And there's work that is going on at a fast pace on boosting rail network in the entire J&K region too, which has been pretty difficult to access as far as that mode of transport is concerned. The government is giving special attention to development in Ladakh as well. As we're all aware, work on transforming Kargil into a smart city is already on. There's university, medical college and airport is also being expanded in Ladakh, namely in Leh. There's a thrust that is being laid on boosting basic infrastructure in far-flung and border areas. That is a common stream when you talk about Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the extreme south, beyond Kanyakumari as well. And then, of course, if you talk about Jammu and Kashmir in the extreme north of the country. And that brings up our In Focus tonight, which is development reaching remote areas. And to talk about it tonight, we have Anshu Prakash with us. He is Secretary Telecom, and we also have Shubhamay Bhattacharjee, Consulting Editor of the Business Standard. Welcome to you both. First to you, Anshu Prakash. Just tell us all about this project. How was it conceived? There was tremendous delay that the PM spoke about as well, and then it was hugely challenging to carry it out as well.
Thank you. Andaman and Nicobar Islands are strategic, beautiful tourist spots and have huge potential. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji had laid the foundation stone of this project on 30th December 2018, and we are very happy that this project was completed in time. We have laid submarine optical fiber cable between Chennai and Port Blair, and from Port Blair to 7 other islands. The total cable length is about 2313 kilometers. This will now enhance the bandwidth availability in Andaman and Nicobar Islands from a mere 4 Gbps through satellite to 400 Gbps. It's an increase of 100 times. And not only that, we can increase this by 15 times. Now with this enhancement of 4 to 400, the broadband availability for Andaman and Nicobar Islands is the same or even better than in any part of the country. It's comparable to Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, Kolkata, you name it. This has been a great achievement. BSNL executed this project. It was funded by Department of Telecommunications, Government of India. There will be huge benefit for the residents of these islands. From the telecom perspective, there are two immediate benefits. First, in terms of broadband through wireline, which is copper connections or FTTH, fiber to the home. The speeds will obviously now increase phenomenally. However, even for mobile telephones, because please remember that mobiles do require a backhaul, and this backhaul connectivity is now coming from the submarine cable. So 4G services have started in Andaman and Nicobar Islands today in Port Blair, and even for 3G, we will have excellent quality of voice, data, and video calls also. Apart from that, if you look at a general economic perspective, what will be enabled by this broadband now will include teleeducation, telemedicine, e-commerce, BPOs can set up operations, the young boys and girls of Andaman can get jobs, stay in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and through this phenomenal connectivity, do their work with the BPOs. Work from home, online education, telebanking, all the services which are being enabled by this digital revolution will be made available. So we are very excited and very happy that this historical event has happened and the Honorable Prime Minister has dedicated this huge connectivity to the nation today.
Yes, definitely, and it will give a big boost to tourism as well at a time when it's most needed, when tourism almost has come to a grinding halt. Enhanced connectivity, I'm sure, will be a big boost also for jobs in the tourism sector itself, which is perhaps the highest employer in those islands.
Absolutely, you're right. Tourism sector will get a great fillip. It's such pristine beauty, and tourists who go there will be connected from wherever they are. And please remember that Andaman and Nicobar Islands did have air connectivity, they did have connectivity, water in terms of ships. But now with this submarine optical fiber connectivity, the people there are connected not only to all parts of the country, but actually to every part of the world. Wherever there is internet connectivity, Port Blair is connected to that part today. It's a phenomenal achievement.
And in terms of the strategic aspect, how will that get a boost for the entire region, the islands, not just the islands, but for the entire country, because of the kind of location that these islands are at?
See, the Prime Minister today emphasized in his speech, in his address today, that we are keen, India is keen, that all our border areas, all our strategic areas, all our islands should develop. So this is a big step in that direction. And the Prime Minister also listed out all the activities which are happening or are planned for the islands, right from Great Nicobar, which is at the bottom part, southernmost part, to right up to the North Andamans. So a huge set of activities and economic impetus is going to be there, is already there for these islands.
Right, and whenever 5G comes to the country, this optical fiber cable link will be 5G compliant as well, Mr. Prakash?
See, 5G is a technology which uses spectrum, but even for that spectrum and using the towers need backhaul. And with the connectivity and huge connectivity of devices in 5G, backhaul becomes very important. So this will certainly help ushering in 5G as and when India starts that.
Right, and whenever such projects are undertaken and implemented in areas such as Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which are quite pristine and ecologically sensitive, people do tend to get very, very agitated sometimes as well. In terms of sustainability of such projects, what can you tell us? How is this project carried out so that it reassures everyone in the country?
No. All the clearances were taken, all environment clearances were taken, forest clearances were taken, and digital connectivity ushers in development which is eco-friendly, which is environment-friendly. In my view, two industries which are really going to benefit, one is the IT industry. I think IT industry will be hugely incentivized to set up now operations in these islands. And the boys and girls of these islands will have huge employment opportunities. The second, of course, is tourism, and tourism in an economic friendly manner. So I do not see any contradiction between this kind of optical fiber connectivity and eco-friendly, environment-friendly development.
Great. Shubham Bhattacharya, glad to have you. We were kind of losing you in the middle and now you're back, so great to see you. What is your assessment of this particular project in terms of the kind of spin-offs that it will have, not just for Andaman and Nicobar Islands and the people there, but for the entire country?
You know, Gautam, the big thing about these projects is that it brings along a quantum jump in the number of people that get involved in the National Lifeline. And that's very significant. Because what we are looking at is that there are several areas, and I heard you speaking about the projects that are being done in the different remote corners.
Correct.
And that's exactly the point. That, you need to basically look at, larger, play to the larger scale. You can't sort of say that, we create projects or things and, leave it at small places in small incremental steps. If we are looking at, we are talking about, huge jump in GDP, we are talking about huge jump in per capita income, then you need to basically play on volumes. That's what major countries which have really leapfrogged their development index have done, and that's what we should have been doing. In fact, it's rather unfortunate that Andaman Nicobar had to wait so long. I mean, the project had till 2018 when the Prime Minister announced the laying of the fiber, and very rapidly it has been constructed and it's been laid. But that's exactly the point, that these sort of things we should have actually been thinking about much earlier. I'm looking at it from the point of view of the hospitals that are being set up now. They are so necessary, but we had waited for so long till a pandemic struck for us to now expand, and we are expanding fast. So the point is very well taken, that the projects and the development aspirations are so important that it needs to be really scaled up at a very, very quantum jump across the India. In fact, if you look at the National Infrastructure Investment Pipeline, that's exactly what it talks about. That's the scale of investment that needs to be done.
Certainly. And Anshu Prakash, in terms of how we're taking development to the remotest parts of the country, if you look at your department alone, even today there's been talk of connecting remote villages for which a tender has been floated. The minister informed about that. And I'm sure similar projects have been carried out there in the pipeline for the other remote areas of the country as well.
Absolutely. See, we have a fund called the Universal Service Obligation Fund.
Right.
Through this fund, the Department of Telecommunications, which is Government of India, funds all those areas for connectivity in telecommunications which are deprived or relatively low connectivity is there. And border areas which are remote, are high on our priority. So I am very happy to share with you that we have recently awarded a tender in which we are going to give connectivity to all the villages of the UTs of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh where telecommunication facilities were lacking.
Okay.
So nearly 140 such villages will have telecom connectivity in a matter of 12 months to 18 months, 1 year to 1.5 years.
Okay.
We are also focusing on the aspirational districts. As you are aware, there are 112 aspirational districts which have been identified, and the Prime Minister is keen that development in these districts should be accelerated. So we would be giving connectivity to all the Gram Panchayats in these aspirational districts which are not yet connected. There are about 8,000 such Gram Panchayats. We have already started work for about 1,000, and for the remaining we should do very shortly. In fact, our target is that in the entire country today, while we cover nearly 95% of the population and area, yet there are roughly about 25,000 census villages which are not yet connected with telecommunications. So we hope that by the end of 2022, all these villages will have telecommunication facilities, census villages. So this is yet another area where we are progressing very fast.
That is wonderful. Just to underline how digital connectivity has come to occupy almost center stage, Shubhamoy, particularly in the COVID era, from financial transactions to tele-education to anything and everything. Gaming is such an occupation these days, and it can't be done without good Wi-Fi. So just tell us, in terms of the way this is going, where do you see it fitting into this goal for Atmanirbhar Bharat, Naya Bharat, and when will we really see that being realized? Pretty soon?
You know, right
Digital
now,
connectivity-
I mean, we are talking
Yeah,
about
I just wanted to ask Shubhamoy about that.
when we are talking about it, I mean, today I was participating in a seminar on telecom. It's very interesting that we are talking about it again in the evening. And the estimate is, and these are estimates by government's own, that we have just covered just 10% of our need for optical fiber cables across the country. So essentially, we are covering up for yesterday. We haven't even come to today's requirement. That is the scale of possibility, and that is the deficiency that we are covering up. Let's look at it, the incentives, or rather the programs that the government has laid out: telemedicine, education. You talked about health. None of this can be delivered without having a consistent and a reliable telecom network, and that
Yes.
means optical fiber cables, and going down right up to the last villages. You know, a person who's I mean, you and I, we would know that there's a possibility of a breakup in communication. But for a person who's just coming into the system first, and suddenly her connection, when she's transacting with the bank, gets snapped, she'll be scared about it for the next
Yes.
year
Yes.
before she takes action to do that sort of a transaction. So that is the sort of thing that we're talking about. On an optical fiber cable, we should be laying massively across the country immediately. We should have a target that by, say, I am very impressed that the Secretary, Mr. Anshu Prakashan, is a very dynamic secretary, is talking about using the USO fund. And that USO fund, with that, using that as seed money, the optical fiber cable across the entire country should be laid before the end of this financial year. I mean, otherwise we can't even start talking about telecom connectivity across the country to remote areas. That is the first thing that we need. It's like the highway. If you don't have the highway, what medicines would you send?
Yeah.
So once so that is the way we should be looking at it. So it's not that we are trying to reach, but the point is it is accepted that it has to reach, and under any circumstances that road network, which is the telecom network, has to reach within, say, this end of this financial year or something. Otherwise, we just simply can't make digital revolution in India start to impact our country to any considerable degree.
Yes, connectivity is a huge part of development, and almost every aspect of connectivity, be it rail, road, sea, air, and now of course digital, that is acquiring greater and greater thrust. That's what we're seeing as far as the step in Andaman and Nicobar is concerned, the digital cable being the activity itself is being launched, and I'm sure more of it because the nation needs it now more so than it did earlier in this COVID era. Let's hope that happens soon. Thanks a lot for joining us this evening, Anshu Prakash and Shubhamoy Bhattacharjee.
Thank you.
All right, now let's talk about what else is happening in the country. Well, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has kicked off the Atmanirbhar Bharat week for the Defence Ministry. All activities during the week will be embargoed. There will be 101 items. There's a list that's been prepared that 101 items will be embargoed for import, and this will give a boost to domestic defence production as well. The minister also said that there's thrust now on making defence equipment at home. This is a list that's been prepared of 101 items which will be embargoed. The move will save foreign exchange as well, and 7,000 MSMEs will be benefited.
Amidst the fight against COVID-19, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given a clarion call for a self-reliant India. Taking the cue from that evocation, Defence Ministry has taken a big step towards self-reliance in the defence sector. Now there would be an embargo on the import of 101 items. In the same spirit, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh started the Self-Reliant Week, organised by the Ordnance Factory Board, Department of Defence Production and Defence PSUs. The Self-Reliant Week will encourage indigenous production of defence-related equipment. Raksha Mantri said that the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat during these tough times is not only important for economic progress and kick-starting activity, but also in increasing self-confidence. He stressed on the need to be self-reliant, to boost confidence, as reliance on others cannot make a nation self-confident.
हमारे प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी का आत्मनिर्भर भारत अभियान का जो विजन है, इस पैंडेमिक के कठिन समय में भी न केवल इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ के लिहाज से महत्वपूर्ण है, बल्कि उससे कहीं अधिक हमारे आत्मविश्वास को एक बढ़ाने वाला यह विजन है। दूसरों के बल पर निर्भर रहकर कभी भी हम अपना आत्मविश्वास नहीं बढ़ा सकते हैं, न अपना आत्मविश्वास हम बना सकते हैं। उसके लिए स्वयं का आत्मनिर्भर होना एकमात्र रास्ता है। यदि हम भारत को आगामी कुछ ही वर्षों के अंदर दुनिया की टॉप 3 इकोनॉमीज में लाकर यदि खड़ा करना चाहते हैं, तो बैसाखी का सहारा लेकर हम भारत को दुनिया की टॉप 3 इकोनॉमीज में लाकर किसी भी सूरत में खड़ा नहीं कर सकते।
Rajnath Singh further said that the move to be self-reliant will be beneficial for civil society as well. With an embargo on the import of 101 items, it is estimated that contracts worth almost 4 lakh crore rupees will be placed upon the domestic industry within the next 5 to 7 years.
हमने पहली बार 101 आइटम्स की एक ऐसी सूची निकाली है जो अब हम किसी भी सूरत में इंपोर्ट नहीं करेंगे। एक बहुत बड़ा संकल्प हम लोगों ने लिया है, यह नेगेटिव लिस्ट इंपोर्ट की तैयार करके, और इस सूची को हम नेगेटिव लिस्ट कहते हैं, जिसमें सिर्फ स्मॉल आइटम्स ही नहीं बल्कि हाई और क्रिटिकल टेक्नोलॉजी वाले वेपन सिस्टम भी शामिल हैं, जैसे आर्टिलरी गन्स, असॉल्ट राइफल्स, लाइट कम्बैट एयरक्राफ्ट एटसेट्रा। आने वाले समय में इस सूची में हम और भी आइटम्स डालेंगे जिससे हम करोड़ों के इंपोर्ट्स को बचा सकें।
Union Minister Rajnath Singh said that during the Atmanirbhar Bharat Week, many steps will be taken, which will boost the indigenous production and manufacturing of defense equipment.
इस तरह के आयोजनों की इसमें बहुत बड़ी भूमिका होगी, ऐसा मेरा विश्वास होगा। इसी दिशा में बढ़ने के लिए हम आत्मनिर्भर सप्ताह मना रहे हैं, जिसमें हम कुछ ऐसे कदम उठाएंगे जो हमें इस दिशा में बढ़ने के लिए हम आत्मनिर्भरता सप्ताह मना रहे हैं, जिससे हम कुछ ऐसे कदम उठाएंगे जो हम इंडिजनाइजेशन, डिफेंस इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में इन्वेस्टमेंट तथा डिफेंस मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कैपेबिलिटी में एक्सपेंशन की ओर ले जाएगा।
Raksha Mantri further said that the centre is taking steps to provide viable opportunities to local industry. He said that if defense equipment is made in India, valuable foreign exchange can be saved, which in turn will act as a catalyst for the growth trajectory of the MSME sector. With inputs from Sudhir Yadav, News Night Desk, DD India.
Union Minister for Finance and Corporate Affairs Nirmala Sitharaman inaugurated the National Infrastructure Pipeline online dashboard through video conferencing. The online dashboard is envisaged as a one-stop solution for all stakeholders looking for information on infrastructure projects in New India. IIG is an interactive and dynamic online platform that showcases updated and real-time investment opportunities in the country. Now, the flood situation as far as Bihar is concerned remains grim. Around 74 lakh people are affected. The Gandak, Buri Gandak, Bagmati as well as the Kosi rivers are all flowing above the danger mark in several places. Death toll in Kerala's Idukki landslide incident has reached 49. Heavy rains and landslides have also been reported in many parts of Uttarakhand. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a review meeting with chief ministers of 6 flood-affected states today, and he stressed there on better use of technology for forecasting and warning systems.
The government is keeping a close watch on severe flooding in different parts of the country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a meeting through video conference with chief ministers of 6 states, Assam, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka and Kerala, to review their preparedness to deal with southwest monsoon and current flood situation in the country. Prime Minister emphasized on better coordination between all central and state agencies to have a permanent system for forecasting of floods and extensive use of innovative technologies for improving forecast and warning system. He mentioned that investment should be increased in localized early warning system so that people in a particular area can be provided with timely warning in case of any threatening situation. Prime Minister also emphasized that in view of COVID-19 situation, while undertaking rescue efforts, states must ensure that people follow all health precautions such as wearing of face mask, hand sanitization and maintaining adequate physical distance. PM Modi also said that states should ensure that all development and infrastructure projects must be built with resilience to withstand local disasters and to help in reducing consequential losses. Chief ministers complimented the efforts of central agencies including NDRF teams in timely deployment and rescue efforts. They also gave some suggestions for short-term and long-term measures for mitigating the effects of floods. Prime Minister directed the officers of concerned ministries and organizations to take note of the suggestions given by the states and assured that the centre will continue to provide its support to the states and union territories in order to strengthen their capabilities for dealing with various disasters. Despite water levels receding in rivers, there has been no significant improvement in the flood situation in Bihar. According to the Water Resources Department, around 2.4 lakh cusecs of water discharged from Kosi and Gandak barrages. The excess rainfall in Nepal is said to be the reason for increasing the discharge. Currently, Gandak, Old Gandak, Bagmati and Kosi rivers remain to flow above the danger mark in many places, but the water level of most of them is decreasing. The Met Office has predicted light to moderate rain in Bihar for the next 2 days. The continuous downpour over the last few days has impacted lakhs of people, resulting in loss of life and disruption of normal life. In Kerala, a landslide occurred in Idukki district following heavy rainfall last week, in which 49 people have died so far. The Weather Department has predicted reduction in rainfall activity from Tuesday onwards. Heavy rain has wreaked havoc in the state of Uttarakhand. Several areas have been affected due to the incessant rains. The road to Dehradun has also been blocked due to heavy rainfall in the region. As a preventive measure, Kailash Mansarovar Yatra route has also been closed due to the landslide. Meanwhile, water level of the Kali and Dholi rivers has increased due to continuous rain. In Karnataka, several parts of Malnad, coastal and interior parts of the state, including Kodagu district, have been affected by torrential rain, causing flood-like situation and landslide. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Well, the country has now recorded and registered a major success in the war against COVID-19. The number of those recovered from the infection has gone beyond the 15 lakh mark. And another record, nearly 55,000 people have recovered during the last 24 hours as well. The death rate has also come down to 2%. Daily tests also crossed the 7 lakh mark on Saturday.
India is gaining momentum in this war against coronavirus as it continues to fight the virus vigorously. Although it is to be noted that India is in a much better position in many ways than all other countries. In view of the appropriate healthcare provided, India's COVID-19 recoveries have crossed 15 lakh, with a recovery rate of almost 70%. Meanwhile, the total recoveries in a single day reach nearly 55,000, which is another record of recoveries in a single day. The country reported the highest ever single-day cases of COVID-19 recoveries in the last 24 hours, as 54,859 people beat the deadly contagion or were discharged from hospitals. While the case fatality rate is 2% and steadily declining, and also, as per the government data, the number of active cases of coronavirus has gone down in the country and currently accounts for 28.66% of the total positive cases. However, if talking about testing capacity, India performed 7,19,364 coronavirus disease tests, taking the total number of daily testing closer to the Indian Council of Medical Research target of 1 million per day by the end of August. The country has performed about 2.5 crore tests so far. This has been possible only due to the coordinated efforts of the central and state governments, and the strategy of early testing, tracking and treatment have reduced the fatal effects of the coronavirus. More than 80% of the total cases have been reported from 10 states of the country, and in many states, due to increased testing, cases are seen to be increasing rapidly in the initial period, but soon these cases will start falling in these states. Amidst this, former President Pranab Mukherjee said that he has tested positive for the coronavirus while on a hospital visit for a separate procedure. Now, with the process of Unlock 3 having been started, Hyderabad and Chennai saw resumption and opening of gyms, keeping in mind the guidelines set up by the centre. Gym owners expressed their happiness over the decision.
अभी जिम वाले भी बहुत प्रिकॉशंस ले रहे हैं और सैनिटाइजिंग कर रहे हैं, मास्क पहन के करना और टवल्स, वाटर बॉटल्स, अपने ओन वाटर बॉटल्स लाना है और एट अ टाइम ज़्यादा क्राउड को भी आने नहीं दे रहे, 10 मेंबर्स को अलाउ कर रहे खाली. जिम भी अच्छा बड़ा है तो उसमें ज़्यादा क्राउड नहीं है वैसा देख रहे हैं और सबको एक स्लॉट अलॉट कर रहे टाइम भी.
As coronavirus continues to grip India, efforts by both the central and state governments have proven to be beneficial in containing the virus. And not just the efforts on the government's part, citizens have also been a crucial game changer in deflecting the trajectory of the coronavirus in India. With inputs from Nitendra Singh, News Night Desk, DD India.
Let's now do some fact checks. Where a Facebook user has posted a letter allegedly written by Prime Minister Modi to Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh Yogi Adityanath, and that is fake. PIB fact check team has clarified that no such letter has been written to the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister. So the letter which is on your screen right now is completely fake and misleading. Indian Railways today clarified that some sections of the media is reporting that Railways has cancelled all regular trains till the 30th of September. But this information is also incorrect. In a tweet, the Ministry of Railways has said that no new circular has been issued by it and special mail express trains shall continue to run. Wednesday is World Elephant Day, which is dedicated to the protection and preservation of elephants world over each year. The goal of World Elephant Day is to create awareness on elephant conservation and to share knowledge and positive solutions for the better protection and management of wild and captive elephants. Union Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar launched a booklet and a portal on human-elephant conflict management in the country today. Take a look.
The majestic Asian elephant, revered in Indian religion and culture, and an intrinsic part of the geographic landscape of our country. The 12th of August is celebrated as World Elephant Day around the globe and meant to bring attention to the plight of elephants and threats to their survival. Union Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar along with Minister of State Babul Supriyo kick-started the celebrations in Delhi's Indira Paryavaran Bhavan. The program saw a releasing of the booklet Best Practices of Human-Elephant Conflict Management in India and the launch of the National Portal Management of Human-Elephant Conflict called Suraksha for collection of real-time information and also for managing the conflicts on a real-time basis.
ह्यूमन एनिमल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट न हो उसके सीधे सीधे उपाय भी होते हैं कि अगर सिग्नलिंग करेंगे कि सेंसर से हाथी की मूवमेंट का पता करके अगर रोड पर वो जो रेलवे के सिग्नल जैसे मैंड गेट पर पड़ते हैं वैसे सिग्नल पड़ेंगे तो बीच में से हाथी जाएंगे बाकी यातायात रुकेगी और वो हमने शुरू किया और सफल रहा.
There are a lot of human-animal conflicts that happen in the country, and most of the times the elephants, the death of elephants or cruelty against elephants, which is definitely an illegal act. A number of human beings, I would say that, what is the ratio, Saumitraji? I think for one elephant that we that gets gets hurt or fatally injured in a animal-human conflict, there are 500 human beings who lose their life. And therefore it is very, very important for us to understand.
Indian elephants are threatened by habitat loss, degradation and fragmentation, as well as poaching. Mitigating human-elephant conflict is also a key part of any effort to conserve these unique creatures. Union Minister Prakash Javadekar invoked the Indian ethos while safeguarding these species.
दुनिया एलिफेंट डे, टाइगर डे ऐसे डे करती है. भारत में पूरा वर्ष ही एलिफेंट का है, पूरा वर्ष सृष्टि का होता है, पूरा वर्ष प्राणियों का होता है. मनुष्य और प्राणी एक साथ रहते हैं, इतने सालों से रहकर आए हैं.
Asian elephants are listed as endangered on the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. More than 60% of the elephant population is in India. The leadership shown by India in listing Indian elephants in the Appendix 1 of the Convention of Migratory Species in the recently concluded Conference of Parties in Gujarat is commendable. Elephant Day celebration will help to bring all stakeholders together to ensure the protection and conservation of our versatile national heritage animal. With inputs from Ajay Vikram Singh, News Night Desk, DD India.
Hitting out at senior Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, the Environment Minister has said that those raising different objections to the draft environment impact assessment, that's the EIA notification are the same people who took big decisions without consultations when they were in power. Speaking to the media on the sidelines of an event in New Delhi today, Javadekar questioned their protest against the draft, saying it's not a final notification.
एनवायरमेंट इम्पैक्ट असेसमेंट के नोटिफिकेशन में कुछ बदलाव करने का एक प्रस्ताव मंत्रालय ने तैयार किया। पिछले 150 दिन उस पर लोगों ने अपनी राय दी है, लेकिन कुछ लोग इतने उतावले हो गए हैं कि उन्होंने अभी आंदोलन करने का कॉल दिया। अरे अभी तो ये ड्राफ्ट है, अभी ये जो सुझाव आए हैं उसका विचार होगा, उसके बाद अंतिम मसौदा तैयार होगा। अभी उस पर विचार होगा, विचार के बाद हम क्या बदलाव करते हैं और कैसा ड्राफ्ट लाते हैं ये जनता के सामने आएगा, तब रिएक्शन देना ठीक है। आज वो अनटाइमली है।
And World Lion Day is also being celebrated today with an aim to conserve and spread awareness about the big cat and its declining population. People and environmentalists have come together on this day, and they do that every year to celebrate the mighty lions this particular day. And lions, of course, are the pride of India as well. Here's a report.
The lion has always been the most revered of the big cats. Movies like Lion King immortalized the character Simba, a young cub, and intrigued many into the lives of lions, the majestic cats who are now restricted to only parts of Africa and India. Each year on 10th of August, World Lion Day is celebrated, where environmentalists around the globe try to bring awareness to the declining population of lions. India has recorded a 29% increase in the population of Asiatic lions living in Gujarat's Gir forest in the past 5 years, with their population going up from 523 in 2015 to 674 in 2020. A total of 208 Asiatic lions are housed in 31 Indian zoos across the country and have been a star attraction in promoting conservation awareness and outreach for visitors, especially children, that are able to see these magnificent creatures up and close in the zoos. The population estimation of Asiatic lions is conducted at an interval of 5 years. Today, Asiatic lions are present in Gir National Park and Sanctuary and constitutes 53 talukas, covering a sprawling expanse of around 30,000 square kilometers, which is termed as the Asiatic lion landscape. The government has given high priority for conservation of this flagship species and has initiated a dedicated lion conservation project. Habitat improvement, disease control and enhancing protection mechanism have been given due priority in lion conservation. Taposh Bhattacharya's report, DD News, Delhi.
That sight of the lions really gladdens the heart. Now, the 10th of August is also celebrated as World Biofuel Day. On this occasion, the CSIR IIP Dehradun has unveiled plans to generate biodiesel through a unique process. In line with the government's call to convert waste to wealth, the institute has worked to convert used cooking oil into biofuel. Here's a report.
10th August is celebrated as World Biofuel Day. On this occasion, Indian Institute of Petroleum at Dehradun has unveiled plans to generate biodiesel at room temperature through its patented process. The Biodiesel in Every Village initiative converts cooking oil into biofuel. Reusing cooking oil generates toxins which can lead to severe health risks, including cancer. This waste to wealth project is extremely simple and energy efficient, while no heating is required.
As a fuel research and energy research institute, we have been active in this ever since inception. Biofuels are critical to reduce the dependence of India on fossil fuels and in fact of the world on non-renewable fuels that have been contributing to climate change and to other environmental issues. Room temperature biodiesel unit. In this, without heating, we can make biodiesel from simple and readily available materials like used cooking oil from our kitchens. To this we add methanol and some proprietary chemicals of CSIR-IIP.
The scheme would include two variants of the unit, one which can be truck mounted and has the capacity of 50 litres and one 5-litre unit which can even mount on a bicycle. This would ensure that it reaches the farthest corners of the nation. The ease of use would ensure that a farmer can readily use it for gensets or for blending in diesel.
We have also developed a small 5-litre unit which can be used in rural areas. As you can see, after 4 to 5 hours of reaction, two layers get separated. Upper layer is the biodiesel layer and lower layer is glycerol layer.
India generates about 22 million tons of used cooking oil every year. Only about 1.2 million tons of this is converted to biofuel. This grassroots approach to reach the bottom of the pyramid can increase our energy security and help us fight climate change. IIP Dehradun has plans to implement this process in Raipur, Bundelkhand, NCR and Uttarakhand. With inputs from Dehradun Bureau, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
This project ought to be scaled up. Every possibility as far as biofuel is concerned should be explored. It's good as far as waste management is concerned. Great for the environment as well, and also for our import bills, reducing them, that is. That's all we have for the moment in Newsnight Tonight. But for all the latest, stay tuned to DD News and DD India.